News Central now at this hour begins in West Africa, where no fewer than 60 members of Nigeria's House of Representatives are seeking amendment to the 1999 Constitution to transition from presidential to parliamentary system of government. Led by a lawmaker representing Lagos State under the All Progressives Congress, Wale Raji, the lawmakers identified the need for reducing the cost of government and robust policy debate, among others, as some of the reasons for demanding a return to parliamentary system. The lawmakers, drawn from different party affiliations, anchored their positions on the need to adopt a parliamentary system of federal, state, and local government levels. Addressing the press conference at the National Assembly complex on Wednesday, the spokesman for the sponsors and member representing Kebbi Tambuwal constituency, Sokoto State, Abdulsamad Dasuki, said that when passed, it would significantly impact the national political landscape of the country.
Some of the feel that our problem is not whether presidential or parliamentary. Our problem goes beyond the kind of system we are operating. Our problems has to do with the kind of people we have in leadership and the kind of followers that we have. The people we have in leadership are not doing the right thing. They are just being selfish and self-centered. The welfare of the people are not their major concern and priority, and that is why we are where we are. It's not about the system. If we change our system from parliamentary, from presidential to parliamentary, and we are behaving the way we are behaving, we will still get the same results. So, and that is the reason why I will not subscribe for the parliamentary system of government. Yes, I'm aware that parliamentary system of government it has its own advantages and disadvantages. In parliamentary system of government, you know, we won't have the president as this powerful. The prime minister will be more powerful because he will be appointed by members of the parliament, and then they will be accountable to them. There will be less separation of power in terms of a parliamentary system of government.
And that was a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Tunji Abdul Hamid, speaking to us on this development. And now moving on to another story in terms of politics. The governor of Bayelsa State, South Nigeria, Duye Diri, has reassured residents of the state that he will consolidate on the achievement of his first tenure to deliver his prosperity mantra for all. The governor stated this earlier today during his inauguration for a second term in office as governor of the glory of all lands. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu, who covered the ceremony, now reports.
Republic of Nigeria, that I will strive fundamental objective. This government has prioritized interventions in education, health, infrastructure, agriculture, sports, transportation, human capacity development, youth and women empowerment, as well as security. We are happy to report I, Duye Diri, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Governor Diri and his deputy Lawrence Egwojakpo, after subscribing to the relevant oath before the Bayelsa State Chief Judge, the governor rode on the parade van to inspect the guard, mounted in his honor by the Nigeria Police.
By the authority conferred on me by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the law, as the Chief Judge of Bayelsa State, I hereby present to the people of Bayelsa State, the glory of all lands, Nigeria and the world at large, the Governor of Bayelsa State, Distinguished Senator Duye Diri, and his Deputy Governor, Distinguished Senator Lawrence O. Egwojakpo. Congratulations to both of you.
In his remarks, Governor Diri, who commended the residents of Bayelsa State for entrusting the state to him and his deputy for the next 4 years, pledged his message of unity and deepening transparency and accountability in governance. While recounting his achievements in the past 4 years, the governor maintained that no project was abandoned in any part of the 8 local government areas of the state, even as he reassured residents of both human and capital development across the state. Governor Diri urged well-meaning individuals to join hands to move the state forward. He disclosed that the state government has developed a comprehensive and ambitious 10 years economic plan.
And everyone has a part to play in driving the economic growth and prosperity of our state. And to kickstart the implementation of this economic plan to engage stakeholders, we are excited to announce the upcoming Bayelsa Economic Development Summit in Yenagoa, the state capital. The summit will serve as a platform for sharing ideas, discussing opportunities, and forging partnerships to accelerate the economic growth of our state.
Some respondents are confident that Governor Dure's re-election and assumption of office for a second term will pave way for him to do more for the people of Bayelsa in appreciation of their support for him at the November 11 governorship election.
The government expects that it will do better than he did in the first term. So I want to say that the second term offers the governor the opportunity to do some of the things he was not able to do in the first term.
Mentioned area of water reticulation, has mentioned his interest to ensure that we develop a strategic roadmap for the development of Bayelsa State. And in all of these things, that there is peace in the land. With that peace that we have in Bayelsa, we expect to attract more investment opportunities.
The event had in attendance Nigeria's Vice President Kashima Shettima and his Liberian's counterpart Jeremiah Bankung, two former Nigeria's presidents, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. Governors, senators were also present at the event. In Yenagoa for News Central, I'm Austin Azum.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has placed a 20 million naira bounty on the heads of some suspected kidnappers currently being trailed by the personnel of the FCT Police Command. And this was as the minister visited the command where several suspected one-chance syndicates and kidnappers were paraded, many of them caught in the act. Amadine Uyi reports.
The minister arrived at the FCT Police Command in Abuja. The FCT Police Commissioner went straight into business, parading to the minister. Some notorious one-chance syndicates arrested, including several suspected criminal gangs terrorizing the capital.
This group are responsible for the kidnap at the Federal Mortgage Housing Estate in Kabusa. They have confessed to that, Your Excellency. They are responsible for the kidnap in Keti Village, Fulani residents, where the Alhaji Sani, many people know the area, is a popular place. They are responsible. They are responsible for the kidnap of a Getman and her madam in Kabusa Estate. They are equally responsible for the kidnap of Mr. Sunday Zakwai and 4 others. Mr. Sunday Zakwai, the district head, they killed him. They have equally confessed that, Excellency. They are equally responsible for the kidnap. That was what led to our arresting them yesterday. The 2 staff of the Ministry of Defense, the Defense Estate kidnap.
He says arms, money, and ammunition were recovered from some of the groups after they had collected ransom from their victims.
We recovered the sum of 9 million naira ransom from them. The money is here. They have in their cards. We recovered their guns. We have not finished. The husband of the other 2, that's the people that is remaining, were for us to complete their actions. We recovered this bulletproof from the bulletproof vest. They have bulletproof vest. Look at it there. We recovered it from them. A locally fabricated walkie-talkie. We recovered it from them. And these AK-47s, we recovered it, sir.
An ecstatic minister commended the police for their efforts and then placed a 20 million naira bounty on the heads of some of the kidnappers currently on the trail of the police.
They have terrorized us. They were happy, making news that FCT is not safe. I told them, you will die for it. Now look at their faces. Who will even drink a cup of water from this? Now let me just read it. You said it's remaining about 2 or 3%. Yes, sir. Okay. let me put money on their head. And so wherever they are, send their men out there. Yes, sir. I will give them 20 million naira. Go and fish them out wherever they are. Use that money on their head. I want to see them live or dead.
The recent successes will heave a sigh of relief for residents of the capital as it confirms efforts to tackle escalating insecurity is already yielding results. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Bandits have killed 2 policemen and 2 residents in Kasuwa Daji Town, Kaura Namodi local government area of Zamfara State, northern Nigeria. They also abducted about 40 people during an attack on the town. The residents said the bandits invaded the town and started shooting indiscriminately to scare them. A resident of Kaura Namodi town, Abubakar Kaura, said the bandits entered the town with sophisticated weapons, including anti-aircraft guns. He said the bandits attacked the hometown of the former state chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Hamisu Kasuwa Daji, and abducted one of his wives and grandchildren. The Nigerian government has signified plans to establish a national commodity board as a solution to the escalating food inflation in the country. The board will be given the mandate to assess and regulate food prices, as well as maintain a strategic food reserve for stabilizing prices of crucial grains and other food items. Vice President Kashim Shettima made this known at the opening of a 2-day high-level strategic meeting on climate change, food systems and resource mobilization at the banquet hall of the State House in Abuja. Other stakeholders praised the President Tinubu for this proposed initiative aimed at curbing the hyperinflation in the country.
Strategy entails revitalizing food supply through specific interventions like the distribution of fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to counteract the effects of subsidy removal, fostering collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and the Federal Ministry of Water Resources for efficient farmland irrigation, ensuring year-round food production, and addressing price volatility by establishing a national commodity board. This board will continually assess and regulate food prices, maintaining a strategic food reserve for stabilizing prices of crucial grains and other food items. I wish to emphasize that the government is not unaware of the fears being expressed in some quarters about the plight of farmers, particularly regarding their security while working on their farms. I wish to assure you that we will engage our security architecture to protect the farms and the farmers so that farmers can return to the farmlands without fear of attacks.
Where we have gathered key stakeholders from across Nigeria and from all over the world to commence the resource mobilization conversation for smallholder farmers in Nigeria and Africa, while underpiling the urgency of action required in the face of the current and growing food crisis.
The basis of all of this is integration. Integration is the key to our future and to our progress. And being a former Prime Minister of Niger, it is extremely important for me to reiterate in a very clear manner that there is no other way than going towards a strong regional integration.
Earlier, a political analyst, Francis Chilaka, spoke to us on these developments.
I think that this government or the Nigerian governance in general, they are always too forgetful. We should be asking ourselves questions. This is not the first time we're talking about commodity board. This is not the first time we're talking about regulating the prices of foodstuff. If you remember, I think in the 60s, 70s, even up to the 80s, we had the boards that were in charge of the farm produce. We had the board for cotton. We had for groundnut. We had for grains. But the question is, how did these boards fare? When at that time we had security, we didn't have security challenges like we have today. We had people going to farms, people were not rushing to the urban areas like they're rushing to the urban areas today. So, it's going to be difficult for anybody right now, considering the present.
Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment is pledged to work with the Nigerian Diaspora Commission to boost diaspora investment in the country. And this was during a call by the chairman of the commission to the ministry, where she called for the creation of a diaspora desk within the ministry's facilities to help willing investors from the Nigeria's diaspora community. Amadine Uyi reports.
It was a visit by officials from the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission to the Ministry of Trade and Investment. The visit is coming from the heels of the successful hosting of the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, which saw wide participation by citizens in the diaspora from across the globe. The chief executive of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission used the opportunity to make several requests from the ministry, chief among which is the establishment of a diaspora desk in the ministry.
We have a diaspora policy that actually says that MPAs that are relevant to what we're doing should have a diaspora desk. So we're hoping that under your leadership, we have that diaspora desk as a focal point for everything diaspora investment that will be happening in Nigeria.
She also called for more support for the nation's diaspora community for their patriotism and willingness to stand by the country.
We also believe that there should be some incentives for the diaspora that are coming home to invest. They don't have to. Well, it's their country. And they're saying that, you know what, we're passionate about our country, we want to do a lot more things in our country, we can make sacrifices for our country. But what are we giving in return? What will the minister suggest? Tax incentives? There may be incentives which you are in a position to decide on what to do.
The Minister of Trade and Investment, while commending the efforts of the Commission and citizens in the diaspora, pledged to work with the Commission to support Nigeria's diaspora community.
The diasporans, by their own nature, are emotionally or sentimental towards Nigeria, and they will give you their investment by asking you for sovereign guarantee, arm and leg, or asking you for so many things that we've seen other investors doing. When they're your own and they have the willingness to give you the money without attaching so much conditionalities to it, it becomes even more beautiful. And the diasporans fit that category. And so we started thinking of also what to do with your energy, with your team, with your expertise, the wealth of knowledge that you have, and of course our own energy and excitement to work with you. It's only going to be a major breakthrough for Nigerians in diaspora and for Nigerians back home.
The minister also promised the Commission it will henceforth help diaspora investors negotiate long-term investment opportunities and provide extra security arrangements for their investments. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And now to some education matters. The Joint Union of Plateau State-owned tertiary institutions has condemned Governor Caleb Mutfwang's decisions to dissolve the governing councils of all the state-owned tertiary institutions with its various heads. The union made this known during a press briefing in Jos, Plateau State capital, Nigeria's North Central. Our correspondent Chizoba Anyonwe was there and now reports.
The joint union came out in solidarity to condemn what they described as shocking the governor's action. The affected institutions include Plateau State University, Bokos, Plateau State Polytechnic, Barkin Ladi, College of Health Technology, Pangshin, College of Education, Gindiri, and College of Health Technology, Zawan. According to them, due process was not followed before their sack.
The removal of these officers were not in line with the extant law governing the institution. With this development, the union is shocked with the development, especially knowing fully well that no long ago, our dear government is a beneficiary of law and justice. We are afraid this act may be counterproductive with gross and unimaginable consequences in the accreditation of our academic programs.
The union does not consider towing the line of the courts to seek redress for the sake of industrial harmony.
How can we have temporary hate of tertiary institutions where there exist deputies. This is in total disregard to laws guiding the operation of those institutions. This is a serious setback in our quest for a better educational system in the state. We are really worried about the future of our tertiary education. This same government set up visitation panels to those institutions. If we may ask, where are the reports? This is very unfortunate, and the union totally found this condemnable. We demand that government should revisit its action for the sake of industrial harmony.
For the benefit of students and integrity the affected institutions are known for, the union is asking well-meaning Nigerians to wade into the impasse for the swift academic activities of the tertiary institutions and development of the state. In Jos for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyun.
News Central now continues in West Africa, where international investors greeted the removal of Ghana's finance minister with caution on Wednesday as they brace for the prospect of more delays to restructuring of the country's overseas debt ahead of national elections in December. The debt restructuring talks are not expected to be entirely derailed by Mohamed Aminad Adam, the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry, replacing Ken Ofori-Atta. However, due to the increased uncertainty, the value of Ghana's Eurobonds has declined. And to talk about this, we're being joined by David Yomodi, economist and data scientist. Good morning, glad to have you join me.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Let's get straight into it. Let me start by asking you, was the removal of Ofori-Atta expected?
Thank you for the opportunities, and my greetings to every citizen on the continent. See, we are talking about the economy of Ghana, an economy of about 30 million Ghanaians. We expect bread and butter on the table when necessary. We have been calling for the removal of this minister for about 5 years, about 5 years now, all because he has mismanaged the economy. If you look at what he came to meet an economy that was growing at 3.4% and expected to grow at 8% in 2017. And indeed, we recorded 8.1%. Today, that economy is growing at less than 2%. He came to meet a debt stock of about 122 billion. Today, our debt stock is around 575 billion. He came to meet an import cover of about 4 months. Today, we have less than 1.5 months import cover. So he has mismanaged every aspect of our economy. Inflation was around 15.4%. We expected to hit a single-digit inflation. Today, we've gone up to about 54% and now hovering around 23%. So he has virtually mismanaged the economy. And his own side of the house, we go to the Parliament of Ghana, the majority in Parliament actually wrote a petition to the president that he should fire the minister some years ago. After the IMF engagement, he will consider sacking him. So we expected this thing long ago, and it has been done now. It is too late. It's that the incoming minister will put us on the path of sustainable growth.
All right, David. David, I hear you when you say, it's long coming for the removal of the minister, bearing in mind mismanagement of office. You talked about the increased debt, under his purview. But there are speculations, that his sack is more political. What do you make of that?
The politics of it will have been in 2020 when we asked for his head. You see, and 2022, 2023, his own side of the house actually called for his head. And then it would mean that maybe people were seeing him as a potential presidential candidate or running mate to the then incoming. So for now, if someone is saying that he's being sacked because of political expectations, I hardly understand that. And maybe perhaps they might be talking about, removing him to please Ghanaians for votes. They are removing him. Maybe that would be the best explanation. Removing him to please Ghanaians that he has not been performing and he has been removed, demonstrating leadership by the president. But I mean, it is too late. They should have allowed him to continue so that, I mean, the accountability process will take effect in an appropriate way. Because, listen, the highest prison camp in Ghana is in Nsawam prison. And I'm telling you, Ken Okoreta is a potential candidate for Nsawam prison. Right now, we have a deal on the table, the Ajapa deal. We have not signed that deal, but we have committed $12 million to that engagement, which we have not signed. And he has to come and account. We have had PDA, among others. We have had a lot of corruption scandals moving around his neck, including the current vice president. As we speak now, we have signed a deal where we said we're going to do we're going to give Ghana card to every single citizen. We spend about 1.2 billion. As we speak now, only 17 million Ghanaians out of the 30 million had their Ghana card. So there are issues of accountability hovering around his neck. And when there is change of government, I'm sure he will go to Nsawam. He has to be jailed. He's a potential candidate for president, and he has to go to Nsawam to ensure that, I mean, those who will be appointed ministers of finance in the future will be able to, respect Ghanaians and do what's expected of them. You can't borrow over 450 billion Ghana cedis in a space of just 7 years, and you cannot account for it. When your predecessor borrowed only 87 billion in 8 years. Listen, when you borrow, we expect you to use the money to invest. We want you to invest the money in infrastructure. Now, here is the case. 2016, our capital expenditure as a percentage of GDP was 4.6%. As we speak now, in 2022, it was 1.4%. Presently, it is around less than 1%. It means you borrow for consumption. And when we speak, people do not want us to talk about it. Our public sector.
All right, that's the most we can take on this episode of the news. Thank you so much for your expertise. David Yormode, economist and data scientist. Thank you once again. In the east of the continent, Kenya has said that more than 12 million children in the country are affected by risks associated with climate shocks and stresses. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry said out of the number, 2.4 million of them live in arid and semi-arid countries where the impact of climate change is extremely high. According to the ministry in a statement, this children's survival faces imminent threats from climate change impact. Some of severe effects of climate change that affect children include diseases like cholera caused by flooding and malnutrition due to drought. And there's also displacement from their homes due to both drought and flooding caused by heavy rainfall, with the two weather events having become common in Kenya in the past years. A second confession statement by accused number 2 in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial within a trial is the focus of the court proceedings at the Pretoria High Court. Accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, says he was not assaulted before signing the confession, but he was only assaulted later after police realized he had not initiated the pages. He's still under cross-examination to prove whether the confession statements were made freely and voluntarily. Meanwhile, the state has accused Bongani Ntanzi of fabricating and continuously tailoring his version during cross-examination in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. The state also alleges that the accused number 2 has been given contradictory testimonies from that of his representative, which poses questions around his evidence. And to talk about this, I've been joined live on the news by Elton Romeo Hart, attorney at the UJ Law Clinics. Good morning. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers up in the West.
All right. I mean, this Senzo Meyiwa's trial is becoming more confusing by the day. Just for a layman who has no knowledge of the law, perhaps help us understand the state accusing Bongani Ntanzi of fabricating evidences. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I don't think that accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, is actually fabricating his story. The thing is, the state has been allowed to cross-examine this guy for nearly 3 days. And the questions of the state has been repetitive, and he remains steadfast at his stories. And also the line of questioning, cross-examination by the state is open-ended, vague. And then it seems like they asking him about one incident, then they're referring to another incident. So that cannot be seen as tailoring his version. At some stages, you would even ask them for clarity to say, are you talking about that incident, that incident? It's not even clear for me as a legal practitioner sometimes about what instance the state is referring to. And he has been remaining steadfast on his version from the get-go. They've put it, I think, at some stage I counted, a question was asked to him 10 times on different occasions, and the answer remained the same. He is, you can see the answers he's giving, it's credible. He's not changing. And where he doesn't know, he says, I don't know. So he's not trying to say, okay, I've listened to the state's version and I'm tailoring my version to actually fit in and rebut the state's version. No, he's sticking to his story where he's saying, I've seen and my legal representative put certain things, but he will argue it later. So for me, they're trying to tire the witness so that maybe he might commit faults for them to say he's lying. And for me, the judge in this case, it's sad to say, I don't like to speak about judges, but I think the judge is allowing the state to get away with murder, because when the defense teams was asking these repetitive questions, they were stopped. But the state is allowed to do so.
Okay, talking about the state, I mean, how about allegations that Ntanzi's statement is contradicting that of his own lawyer? What can you tell us about that?
No, I don't see how his statement is contradicting. His lawyer put a version or versions of events to the state's witnesses. They have access to the docket, putting a version to the accused. And he clearly said, while he was on the stand, to say, listen, yeah, this is what I know. I was there. I'm testifying and I'm telling you what was happening to me. He even went as far as to say, I signed the confession, not knowing what I'm signing, but they told me it was for my teeth for examination, oral examination of my mouth. Now the state is actually making to that examination that was happening is if it was a medical examination. And he was clear, say, I signed it before, they tortured me afterwards when they realized that some of the pages were not initial. So he's clear, he's not tailoring his version, he's saying, this is what's happening. And obviously, he's not as fluent in English. So I can see sometimes there's a lot of things that's being put to him that he doesn't even really understand. And the way that the state is asking the questions, you can see that they are being sarcastic with the witnesses and trying to sort of create the impression that the witness, but is merely because these guys are fluent in isiZulu compared to English. And the interpretation that gets across sometimes it creates the impression that they're not telling the truth or they're not truthful. But I don't think that Bongani Ntanzi is lying. Even the state's version that he had a gold tooth, their own evidence is rebutting that, but yet they still treat him as if he's not telling the truth.
Okay, let's talk a bit about the countenance or even attitude of Judge Ratha in this case, particularly towards the defense and witness on the stand. What are your impressions of this?
As I said, I don't like to speak about judges, but here in this instance, I have to, because I can pick up a sense of biasness from the judge. Because when the defense teams was cross-examining the state witnesses, at the third time a defense team putting a question to the witness, then the judge would interfere but say, but the witness has already answered that question. Here, Mr. Sibanda for the state has been asking repetitive questions to these accused persons with sarcastic comments towards the witnesses, and the court was sitting there idle as if nothing wrong is happening. And also the way that Judge Ratha Mokgotlane is actually treating the defense teams. He's treating them as not as if they are nothing, not legal professionals. As much as you have 50 years of experience as a legal professional, it doesn't mean a guy with less years of experience doesn't have a merit in his arguments, and you should disrespect them. Because at one stage he said to one of the legal, Mr. Mnisi, can you just sit down? That's not how you speak. That decorum of court still needs to maintain, even if you disagree. If a legal representative gets up, raises an objection, you have to listen to him. You're not supposed to be partial. You should be impartial. And his attitude when people is speaking, he makes sounds like he's disregarding, dismissing what they are saying, and just say, Mr. Sibanda, Mr. Mnisi said that proceed. He's not even saying that objection withheld, overruled, or objection sustained, those type of things. He's just saying, and for me that's disrespectful as a judge who proclaims to be a senior judge towards the defense teams.
All right, thank you so much for your time on the news. Elton Romeo Hart, thank you once again.
Thank you.
And coming up, Egypt's Sisi receives Turkish president in first visit to Cairo. In North Africa, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received his first Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, in Cairo after the Turkish president arrived to meet al-Sisi, sealing a long-running rapprochement between the two men. Erdogan, an outspoken critic of Israel's conduct in the Gaza war, discussed with Sisi's efforts to halt the bloodshed. Egypt has been hosting joint efforts with Qatar and the United States to broker a new truce between Israel and Hamas. An Israel delegation was in Cairo on Tuesday, while a Hamas delegation visited later on Wednesday. Egypt and Turkey cut ties in 2013 after Sisi, then Egypt's defense minister, ousted Islamist President Mohammed Morsi, an ally of Turkey and part of the Muslim Brotherhood movement.
Bugüne kadar uçak ve gemilerle 34.000 tonun üzerinde yardım malzemesini bölgeye sevk ettik. Yardımların ulaştırılmasında Mısır makamlarının desteğini burada özellikle ifade etmek istiyorum. Mısır Kızılay'ına, Mısır Sağlık ve Nüfus Bakanlığı'na ve ilgili tüm Mısır kurumlarına teşekkür ediyorum. Gazze'de akan kanın durması için Mısırlı kardeşlerimizle işbirliği ve dayanışma halinde olmaya devam edeceğiz. Orta vadede Gazze'nin yeniden toparlanması ve imarı için de Mısır'la birlikte çalışmaya
وأعرب في هذا السياق عن اعتزازنا بمستوى التعاون القائم بين مصر وتركيا من أجل النفاذ السريع لأكبر قدر ممكن من المساعدات الإنسانية إلى أهلنا في قطاع غزة، أخذا في الاعتبار ما تمارسه السلطات الإسرائيلية من تضييق على دخول تلك المساعدات، مما يتسبب في دخول شاحنات المساعدات بوارد.
Insufficient government loan guarantees in Africa are hindering renewable energy investment, according to Total Energy CEO Patrick Pouyanné. He highlighted the challenge of solvency in electricity projects where there is a risk of not being paid. Renewable developers often seek guarantees from African government, but they are unable to provide them due to concerns raised by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, about over-indebtedness. As a result, Total Energies focuses mainly on business-to-business mining projects in Africa, where payment is more certain. While the company has oil and gas operations in numerous African countries, it also has solar parks in Egypt and plans for a solar power and battery storage project in South Africa. Pouyanné expressed disappointment at the lack of an international financial body to provide counter-guarantees for African states without burdening them with additional requirements. South Africa has released its first official measurement of the carbon intensity of its electricity production, confirming its position as one of the world's highest per capita producers of greenhouse gases. The Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment announced that the domestic generation grid emission factor for the country is at 1.013 tons of carbon dioxide, or its equivalent per megawatt hour, based on 2021 data. According to climate think tank EMBA, South Africa has the most carbon-intensive energy system among the G20 nations, followed by Saudi Arabia and India. Despite relying on coal for over 80% of its power, South Africa is taking steps to transition away from fossil fuel with ambitious emission reduction targets and a plan to reduce coal dependence. The DGGEF measurements can be used by carbon credit projects to assess their impact on reducing emissions. The department also provided a national generation grid emission factor that includes imported hydropower at 985 kilograms of carbon dioxide or its equivalent per megawatt per hour. A workforce mismatch between supply and demand is highlighted in a 2023 review study for South Africa, specifically for high-level skills in management, engineering, information technology, and education. According to the research, it is imperative to resource these skills internationally in the short term. To address this, the South African government is amending its visa system to attract foreign talent in critical sectors. Patrick Daele, a lawyer at Daele Attorneys, emphasizes the urgency of closing the talent gap during an interview on the Business Edge show.
To close the gap. Essentially what's happened is that South Africa, certain elements of the South African economy and industry have been growing. Sort of sophisticated businesses like IT, logistics, and those types of industries that which require highly skilled people, IT people, engineers, etc. There has been a lag in attracting people because the visa regulations have been complicated, they have been burdensome, take a long time to process, and it has basically really created blockages for employers, companies, businesses who want to advance their businesses to attract the right skills. So a considerable gap, probably running into hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions, in the available skills. And the skills available in South Africa are not sufficiently skilled and in numbers to be able to satisfy the demand. So the point of this thing is to close the gap as fast.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. 60 Nigerian lawmakers seek to transition to parliamentary system of government. Kenya says 12 million children affected by climate shocks. Egypt's president receives Turkish counterpart in first visit to Cairo. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.